Football is back. Steeler Nation, welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. And welcome back to the channel. Welcome in new guys, new subs, or new likes, or whatever it may be, or UFL fans or NFL fans. Football is back. It's not the Super Bowl. It's not the NFL, but it's some kind of football. If you're not aware, UFL is a United Football League, and they're now going into their second season for spring football, and it starts tonight. I believe it's on Fox Sports, and it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I've already released the video, and it's on right now. Bit of catch up. So the XFL and also the USFL, the United States Football League, merged together. They had two, I think they had two codes last year, and to make sure they can have a bit of a run of things and it doesn't fail again, because over the last few years in spring football, or just this kind of code like this, secondary football compared to the NFL, it's failed a fair bit. It's been moving codes, changing cities, teams are dropping in and out, head coaches are leaving, all that kind of stuff. So the UFL is going into their second season, but they've merged with the USFL and the XFL. And I found this article online, and it was from Steelers Now. So I put that in the comments below, or the description below. And we're going to talk about 40 former Steelers that are playing in the UFL in 2025. Now, I will say, disclaimer, I don't know all these players. No way, but some do stand out more than others. So we're going to go through all the teams, and we're going to start with this team here is the Arlington Renegades. And they used to be called the Dallas Renegades, but now they're called the Arlington Renegades in the UFL. We have the receiver, Tyler Vaughns. I think he was like on the practice squad, I'm pretty sure, a fair few times. I think he may even caught a pass in the regular season. I think he's caught one or two. Tyler Vaughns, receiver. Kalen Ballage, he played for the Jets, the Miami Dolphins, and also he played for the Chargers, and he played for the Steelers in 2021. Had 17 games played, 12 carries, 36 yards. So he was like a backup a few years ago. He's now playing for the Renegades. Tuzar Skipper was the bloke that I was like pretty high on, because he was like a pre-season camp darling. Steelers like making all the moves, sacks, tackles for loss, all that kind of stuff. It was really fun. So he's now playing in the UFL. Offensive tackle, Kellen Dietch. Like I said, I don't know all the players, but he's offensive tackle for the Arlington Renegades. So that's kind of cool. Moving on to the defenders. By the way, some of these names are pretty awesome, right? They're pretty awesome. So the Renegades have a blue color scheme, and they like that cowboy, bandit kind of style. So the Arlington Renegades, and I was thinking about like, what team do I want? I don't think I'll probably never watch the UFL like I do our Steelers, like that passionate, but it's still fun to watch in a football sense. But Renegades, of course, connects to Steelers Renegade. But I haven't got a team, because the Pittsburgh Maulers, they played last year. I think it was last year, and they were now booted from the side. So they're not going to be, or maybe they played the year before in the UFL. It's very hard to keep up. But the Pittsburgh Maulers aren't a part of the UFL at the moment. But some of these guys have some cool names. So DC Defenders from Washington, offensive line, Tykim Doss, cornerback, Keandre Thomas. And the only outstanding player that I know, and the reason why I bring him up, is Matt McCrane, is because Matt McCrane filled in for Chris Boswell. And I've been doing some research here. Got a few articles in the background. Matt McCrane made all three field goals, 32, 35, 39, in his lone extra point attempt in Sunday's win over the Bengals, 16-13, in 2018. So a couple years ago, this bloke only played one game for the Steelers. Chris Boswell was injured, came in there, sinked 3 field goals, and won the game winner versus the Bengals. So anyone like that in Steelers history and lore, that's kind of fun to me that he came in there and had one victory over the Bengals. So shout out to him for the DC Defenders, Matt McCrane. But I'm pretty happy with Chris Boswell being our field goal kicker. Next team we have here, the San Antonio Brahmas. Just a bit of backstory on this one too. The Brahmas, they were also coached by Hines Ward, but I believe he left last year or the year before, and now Hines Ward isn't a coach of the Brahmas. Might have been last year. like I said, it's very hard to keep up. And also, too, there's not that much UFL news out there. There's some YouTubers that I watch, UFL News Hub. He does a pretty good job talking about it. But the UFL, for me, you've really got to go out and search high and low to find out what's happening. So the Brahmas were Heinz Ward's team until he left the team, I think, last year. So former Steelers are running back John Lovett, running back Anthony McFarland, Elise Mack, tight end, Isaiah Gathings, Marquise Stevenson, Matthew Sexton, receiver. I think as well, he had a pretty big play in the preseason where he returned a kick almost near a touchdown. I remember that from a few years ago. The Steelers like, oh, will we bring, there was hype around Sexton. Will they bring him back as like kickoff returner, fifth step, sixth step, that kind of style. You had here Tariq Carpenter, Toby Njukwe, is how you pronounce that. Cornerback Chris Steele, awesome name, by the way. Free safety Jalen Elliott, and my mate, punter Brad Wing. Brad Wing played, I think, a few seasons for the Steelers. I think one or two. And then also, I think he came back to camp. I'm sure he came back to camp last year or the year before as well for Brad Wing. So, but I want to focus on the former fourth round pick 18, Anthony McFarland, playing for the Brahmas. Now, this guy, I think his role and intention was originally to be like that scat back, fast back, maybe a third down guy, third on the depth chart. But every time from memory when watching Anthony McFarland, he seemed to run too fast for his feet and tripped over and fell over. That's why it didn't really work out for McFarland. But McFarland, he was drafted in the fourth round. He had like a special teamer, 5'8". He was only like tiny, but he was meant to be that kick return guy, and the Steelers, didn't really get too much production out of him. So he was one of the players I wanted to note there was McFarland and probably Brad Wing as well. Moving on to the Stallions. Stallions. We had Dion Kane, receiver, Jay Sternberger, offensive tackle Christian DeLauro, offensive tackle Jaron Jones, D tackle Carlos Davis. He played for the Steelers, I think, for 3 years. Tay Crowder, inside linebacker. Kayav, oh my goodness, Kayav Tesno, cannot pronounce that guy's name. Chappelle Russell, Madry Harper, and Kenny Robinson. But the bloke I really want to focus on was Trey Norwood. A few years ago, I think it was a 2021 draft he was drafted in. Let me go back. Yeah, 2021 draft. He was drafted in the 7th round, 245 overall to the Steelers. In the first few games, I thought this guy's like awesome. Like he's like batting down passes, he's getting interception. And then the Steelers just didn't use him after that. Like I think kind of like, fell to the back of the depth chart and wasn't used. But I was high on Trey Norwood because he's a bit of a little guy, but he could definitely hit. So Trey Norwood's playing for the Stallions at the free safety position. And also he is only a little bloke there. He's 187, 87 kilos in my language, 194 pounds in your language. And I think he played for 2 years for the Steelers, only started 3 games and 4 pass deflections. Tackles he had 49 in total, and in his first year he had 38 tackles combined, but he was more that like rotational piece at safety or teamer or whatever it may be from that sense. But I remember being really high on Trey Norwood, and then like everything just fell apart, getting Burton covered and stuff like that. Next one. Right, we have the St. Louis Battlehawks, receiver Hakeem Butler, receiver Denzel Mims, safety Cameron Kelly, free safety Nate Meadors. Now, this was another story from a few years ago with Hakeem Butler, because this was around the time as well the Steelers are trying to find more receivers. We had the receiver 2 craziness last year, but I remember this guy Butler, when we're talking about him, when it was like in the training camps and stuff like that, I remember talking about him in various podcasts and things of that nature, saying, will this guy make the Steelers roster? Will he be number 6? Can he play special teams? All that kind of stuff. Hakeem Butler's like 6 foot, I think 4. He was a standout receiver for the Battlehawks last year. In 2024, the UFL, they had announced that he had won the UFL Offensive Player of the Year. He had led with 652 receiving yards, 45 receptions, 14.5 yards per catch. So he had that in 24. And then I believe he was connected. He was connected a year prior to that to the Steelers, and the Steelers thinking we should have made him a receiver 5 or receiver 6. So he looks to be like the standout guy for the league. He's also signed as well to the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's pretty cool to see. So he'll be one. If you guys are watching the UFL, St. Louis Battlehawks, Butler is like the guy. He's like the number 1 receiver to run around. Also, Steelers, so I think Denzel Mims came from the Jets. So he's another bloke to watch there too. Heading into the last few teams, we have the Roughnecks. And a big point to the video as well, Zach Banner. If you don't know, Zach Banner has a podcast. Just type into YouTube, Zach Banner podcast. Shout out. If you go over there too, tell Zach Banner that Mark from Steelers Nation Australia on my podcast gave him a shout out. I try and listen here and there, but I'm very busy, as everyone else is in this life is too. So it's hard to catch all these podcasts. You got Ben's, Cameron, Hayward's, you got Christian 46ers, you got Zach Banner's. Everyone's got a podcast. Even you at home, if you want to, grab a mic, camera, light, and you can make a podcast. But shout out to Zach Banner, because I remember him as a Steeler too when he was that kind of like fun guy, joking guy, big fella, the Hulk. But he was on the Steelers, and they call out number 72 is reporting as eligible. He was like the backup left tackle, go out in certain plays, could catch a pass if he wanted to. I don't think he ever did. But yeah, Zach Banner is now playing for the Houston Roughnecks, who are playing tonight, and a former outside linebacker, Jameer Jones. But Zach Banner was the highlight there for sure. 2 more teams, guys, and then we'll get on with our day. Memphis Showboats had offensive lineman Nate Gilliam, cornerback Mark Gilbert. I think he was a tall, lanky guy from memory, the Mark Gilbert, but never really had made too much progress with the Steelers. Michigan Panthers had these are the guys I don't know. Defensive tackle TJ Carter, never heard of him. Outside linebacker Rondell Carter, never heard of him. And kicker BT Potter. Those last few guys, I didn't have any memory or information about them at all. So anyway, Steel Nation, that was kind of fun. That's kind of cool. I hope I can watch some UFL highlights. I would, if I had time, if I had a studio, if I had this, and this, whatever. If wishes were fishes, the whole world would be an ocean. If I had a lot of football time and I could get around more news, and you know what, time isn't the only excuse, but a lot of energy as well. It would be fun to talk about the UFL and gridiron in general. That's why I want to bring it up and showcase it just a little bit here on this channel. So thank you if you made it this far on the channel. It's really fun to watch former Steelers play in other teams. Tuzar Skipper, like I said, Trey Norwood, or Zach Banner, or whoever it may be. It's really, or Hakeem Butler. It's really fun to watch them and say, oh, maybe if they had a good year, could they go back to camp? It's fun to see these players have a chance in the UFL. There is no developmental league at all. It's only the NFL. And I think that sometimes that hurts the quarterback play too. So there's, you've only got 32 starters, 32 backups, 32 third quarterbacks, and that's it. And where do they get the reps? The NFL, and I think football in general, needs a backup league, and I would love to see them one day, maybe in the future, maybe in 5-10 years times, you'd have 32 teams NFL and 32 teams that are backed up behind that. There's like a minor league, and maybe that could be the UFL, and they could both connect together. I think last year, I had a few players going back and forth from the UFL who had made camps and made rosters. I think even the Lions guy out there, Jake Bates, he was a kicker for the Michigan Panthers. Now he's kicking for the Detroit Lions. So there are success stories in that sense, and it is really fun. So if you can go and watch football, sit back, have a beer. It's your spring. It's going into my fall or my autumn or whatever. It's getting in near winter. It's meant to be fun. So all these teams, like, shout out to all of them. I wish them more luck. Tyler Vaughns, I remember he made a catch. Tuzar Skipper was a preseason guy. Balaj had a few carries here and there. Defenders, like I said, Matt McCrane, he won a game over the Bengals, so he's got a place in my Steelers history heart. McFarland wasn't the guy to pan out for Pittsburgh and kickoff returns, but now he has a chance with the Brahmas. The Stallions got a few people too, from Carlos David, played 3 years as like a backup. Trey Norwood is a guy who played safety. Maybe like that 3 safety set, or played in the slot there, had a few pass deflections, but never turned out for the Steelers. Or the guy was like a practice squad not practice squad, a training camp star was Hakeem Butler turning heads and never got the chance for the Steelers to play. They ended up going to the Bengals and they got cut by the Bengals. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of players, a lot of teams. There's 8 teams to follow. I haven't chosen one yet to follow. If anything, I'll probably choose the DC Defenders. And also, I went to Twitter and I was like, there's no like UFL depth chart. There's nothing like that. But I went to Twitter and then some guy just like texted me this Google Docs thing of like everything. So shout out to that bloke. He gave me absolutely every quarterback, like history in the UFL, every team, all those kind of things. But I'm probably going to follow, if anyone, the DC Defenders, because there's one cool thing they have in the fan base, and that's the beer snake, where you finish one beer and you make a whole snake up to the very end. Not a huge fan of red, but somehow the DC Defenders logo and the red and white just works. It definitely does. They've got the quarterback, Jordan Tamu. I think he tried with the NFL, or maybe was like on a practice squad or something like that. But he was lining up last year, and he was really, really fun to watch. So I'm going to try and, and of course, the kicker, Matt McCrane, for the former Steeler who won that game. But I'm probably going to try and follow them as best I can. And that terms of means when I have free time or highlights or whatever it may be. But yeah, DC Defenders could be my team until the Pittsburgh Maulers come back. I'd probably, if I could, and I looked into it, I'd probably make another channel. If there was a Pittsburgh Maulers team next year or year after, I'd make a channel. I'd try and put dedicated time to look into news, quarterbacks, running backs. You know, we're trying to find our quarterback. I still think it should be Mason Rudolph over Aaron Rodgers. And also, in this video, we didn't mention Aaron Rodgers until now. Football is back. Football is good. Football is fun. So the draft is coming up in like 29 days. We still have the Aaron Rodgers debacle as well going on. Well, will he, won't he? But if you can go and watch UFL football, support it, buy a jersey, watch it, tweet about it, try and get some things moving. And yeah, maybe it can be a good product that is different to the NFL. It doesn't have to be better than the NFL. Just needs to be a bit different. And then we can support our former Steelers, and maybe we can see some outstanding catches and fun football. I'm hoping I can watch it because it's on right now. And I'm hoping I can watch it and highlights and all those kind of things. And maybe you might see these guys in the NFL. So I wanted to give a good shout out to the UFL, man, to see what happens. And also a big shout out to Zach Banner. Zach Banner was a former Steeler left tackle. And he's got a podcast now, and he's out there playing for the Houston Roughnecks right now. Steel Nation and UFL Nation, NFL Nation, I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the game if you are watching. I think it is the St. Louis Battlehawks versus Zach Banner's Houston Roughnecks. I'll see you guys later on.